Greetings, comrades.
Do we know who Francois Sam is?
Yes, I do. I just wanted to let in people who are in the coalition for now.
Okay. Everyone doing okay this morning?
I think we're beginning our early afternoon, but it's been good. Out in Wagga, it's very sunny. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. It's supposed to be our rainy season, but I feel like rainy season has been very weak this year. which I guess is not a very good thing.
No,
Yeah. I mean, it's, I guess maybe good for our call right now, but not in general.
right.
Yeah. Remind me,
Yeah,
you're in the DMV area, like
yeah,
DC, Maryland area?
yeah. I'm in Baltimore specifically.
Oh, you're in Baltimore. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I've been reading that there's also been more drought in the Sahel, and that's also been driving instability.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like this, I feel like because I'm in Ouagadougou and it's a relatively urban area, I guess. I don't, and it's also, it's not that easy to get around Burkina Faso, honestly. I don't get to sometimes go out into the rural areas as much as I'd like to. But I will say, I feel like Ouagadougou, like this is the first time since I've come here where I feel like, okay, climate change, it seems to be really acting up this year. Like, I don't know, last year, it felt like there was kind of a substantial rainy season. And
Hmm.
this year, it feels like, it's like rain will come, last a few minutes and leave, and then we'll see it like several days later. But it's just, this is not how I remember rainy season being last year and in the past couple times I've experienced rainy season. So yeah. Are the other comrades calling in from Lagos primarily, or like other cities?
Greetings from Lagos.
Okay.
Yeah, Adebayo will be speaking, so I think, is he on now? He'll be
Yes,
on
I know that comrade.
shortly.
We talk sometimes, but I know he's also in Lagos.
Mm. So I will call Comrade Aremu, supposed to be available. I'm going to have to phone him directly. I don't know why he's not here yet.
Could you please contact them both? Because, yeah, neither of them are here.
No, Adebayo is going to join shortly. He's going to join shortly. I'm on him already, so I have
Oh,
to call
okay. Thank you. Stay on
Comrade
them.
Aremu, Abiodun Aremu. So I'm going to call him now. Who else are we missing? I think that's it.
Well,
Right?
seeing as we're 30 in our group, I'd say we're missing lots of people.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Greetings, comrade. Am I being heard, please?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm really sorry for coming late. I was having issues with my network. So, but I'm sorry I came late. I just have to apologize.
It's no worries. We'll start. The press conference starts at 10, so we wanted to just make sure all this was taken care of before we started.
Okay, no problem.
Comrade Adebayo, have you had a
Yeah.
chance to read that statement we posted yesterday?
Yeah. I read it yesterday, but if you guys want me to read it out to you guys, so let me can I read it out to you guys all over again,
Yeah.
before we start?
You don't have to, but I just wanted to make sure if there's any parts that were not, clear to you. That way we could help you, like pronunciation or anything.
I do really understand the statements are perfectly fine for me.
Okay, and could you please make sure you read slowly? Like, don't
Okay,
go too
I'll try my
fast.
possible best because I'm a fast talker, but I'll try
I can
my
tell
possible
you're a
best.
fast talker already. Yes, like that's quite obvious. But like, can we please slow it down when you're reading the statement? Because people won't have the statement in front of them, right? So they'll be depending on you to clearly understand what's being stated.
Okay.
And the sections that are like towards the bottom that it says like to the people of Niger, to the those, you actually have to say those things, by the way.
Are you trying to say where the 3 points were being clarified?
Pardon? Mm-hmm. What
Yeah, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hello?
Or we can sort of hear you.
Oh Lord.
Okay. Yeah, I've went through the statements. I understood it clearly, perfectly fine, and I know where to say things clearly to people so they can probably understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. But I was saying, those sections at the bottom that are like to the people of Niger, to the people of the Sahel, like you actually have to say the title. Like I know it's written like a title, but you will have to say it.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, dear. Just please, I beg. Low talking.
Okay, no problem.
I feel like you're an even faster talker this morning than you were yesterday.
Yeah, say what? Hello, is that directed to me?
It's okay, dear. Let me just pray that your network pulls you all the way through.
Okay. Because it's about to rain here, but I better try my best.
It'll be okay.
Thank you.
It'll be okay. Yeah.
Is Comrade Ademu already in here? I don't see him
I
in
have
here.
been trying to reach him. He's
dear.
offline. He's offline. Trying to reach him. So it's not here. In case it's needed, do we want to go for a backup?
Yeah, so Shango, I don't understand why you want everybody to be a backup except for you. Is there a reason why you have said no multiple times?
Yeah, there are reasons, but I wouldn't mind doing a backup.
Okay, perfect. You're the backup,
not,
like it's decided now.
If he doesn't come, yeah. All right.
Okay. So Audubon, in case, because you're here, in case we do not have our comrade by the next 10 minutes, when you make introduction, you know what, you might as well just add Shango in there in general. Even if the other comrade pops up, that's great, but then Shango will just be added as well.
You mean as a list of speakers, right?
Exactly. So just add him to the list.
No Allah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you see? I really like the little breakdown that Obi created. Did everybody take a look at that? Like a little brief of the program for today?
Where is it? Okay, yeah.
In the WhatsApp. I hate that I don't have a camera. People are gonna be like, what's wrong with this girl?
Yeah, sorry for the
Okay.
is Yeah, you'll need to mute both one of your devices.
Sorry. You're going to read it in French, right?
Sorry, make you what, Obi?
So I was saying you would have to mute one of your devices
Oh,
for the
yes,
echo,
yes,
but
yes, correct. I removed the sound off my laptop. Yeah.
yeah, but Inem asked if you were going to read in French.
Yes, has that not been said like multiple times? That's why I'm here, is to translate
The
everything in
program
French.
said Spanish, and I just was like,
Did I write
Spanish.
Spanish?
I was like,
Spanish.
that's only gotta be. I just assumed that was maybe just like a slip of like a.
Yeah, sorry, it
No,
was
it's okay.
this morning.
Figured.
How did-
Oh wow, it does say Spanish. Okay,
Yeah,
like what?
I
mean,
have
it was a
no.
very long night for you, dear.
Yeah,
So
sorry.
thank you for that.
It's entertaining. I mean, I would enjoy it.
I speak a little Spanish, so maybe my head just went to Spanish.
And Audubon, after you do your introduction and before Adebayo like begins reading, like let me translate your greeting. Like Adebayo, don't start reading until I've translated.
Yeah, that should be in the program.
No.
Okay, is that, yeah, I feel we could just all have the program up.
But
And
just
I think
repeat.
we just lost our dear comrade Adebayo. I feel like he just dropped. So backup time, because we're not doing like awkward
shoot.
this. So if we lose him, who's reading the English statement?
Okay, I guess that might be me.
Yeah, honestly, we'll just have you as a standby in case he doesn't come back on.
Yeah. Okay. Let me pull up the statement then.
Yeah, me too, actually. And we've agreed we're shooting for like a 1 hour thing, right? So if you see
Right.
that it's already like 50 minutes, like please don't start elaborating on anything.
Yeah, Yanae would have been, but she is not here right now.
She's also not here yet, so.
And I'm trying to get somewhere so we can.
I look so tired. Where are our people? What time are we officially starting on, by the way?
10, so 4 minutes.
No, I mean, like, do we go right in at 10 or yeah, whatever time zone people are in?
Oh yeah, no, that makes sense. I guess usually people give like 5 minutes for folks to trickle in.
Okay, so we'll do 5 minutes then. And remember, Audubon asks for people, if a question is asked and you want to answer, to use the chat here in Zoom to let him know, like just write your name or something.
Yeah, and a private message.
Yeah,
right?
please don't let us all know.
Yeah.
Libre is saying that participants can't turn on mic or video.
I'm pretty sure they can, because this isn't a webinar.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because how are our mics and videos on?
So there's a difference between participants and how are some of them? Because I joined with the actual link that you dropped in WhatsApp.
Mm-hmm.
I did too.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be back. Let me grab my tablet to read.
Okay, Libre is saying that he used a registered link through the Definition €20.
But I mean, I guess it's a good thing because we don't even like. Oh wait, are you saying that like right now, Libre, you can't speak? Like if you were to ask a question? And also, are we taking verbal questions or are we having people write them in the chat? Audubon, I guess you can decide because you'll have to dictate people how to move.
Yes. I think I'll just use my discretion, if anybody indicates that they have a question. I think it would be easier if they typed it straight into the chat. Then because if someone has a question, if someone from the audience has a question, I'm not the person that would like unmute them or something like that. Wouldn't that be just the host handling that or something?
Yeah, no, not in terms of like you unmute them or not, but when you tell people like we'll be answering questions, you can let them know you can either answer your question verbally or write them in the chat. Okay, it's 8 a.m.
Please, from a prudence, Adebayo is out. He's trying to get back in. He needs host
Okay,
permission.
yes, I see him. Okay, so it's 8 o'clock. Are we ready to let the people that are in? I think those of us who are speaking or whatever should be on camera, so they don't walk into a wall of empty photos. So those of you speaking, please come on camera. And mute. Okay, I will let all these people in. Are we ready? Okay, Mr. Moderator, come host your guest.
Ready as I'll ever be. We are given 5 minutes, right? Before we.
Correct. We will give 5 minutes. Okay.
Yeah. So that people can can come in. But yep, ready as I'll ever be.
Obi, please keep an eye on the room as well in case like when I'm talking I don't see it if people are in there to be admitted.
Just real quick, for everyone who is speaking, have they all used the link that Prudence shared last night?
Everybody who's speaking has spoken already today in this chat, so I think we're good, right? Yes. So
Okay.
whatever link we use worked.
Greatest comment. Am I being heard? I just wanted to be sure if I'm being heard clearly. Am I being heard clearly?
Yes, you are, dear.
Yes.
I would just allow 2 more minutes before we kick off this press conference in earnest.
I'm not so careful.
So can I not?
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining this press conference. Thank you all for making time to participate. Yes, this press conference, as you know, we know it is being hosted by the Coalition for the Elimination of Imperialism in Africa. I'm from the organization Movement for the I'm from the organization Movement for the Emancipation of Africa. Thank you again. Now, we have, just organized this press conference to share very serious information, and this will be focused on discussing the uprisings in, the Sahel. We are aware of, or I hope that we are aware of the recent developments that have gone on there, very serious issues, and they will be covered, accordingly throughout this press conference. Now, this coalition has prepared a statement, and it will be read in English and French. And also, the conference would also have a French translation. So for bilingual comrades, you would all be filled in on what's going on as we progress. Now, throughout this conference, we would have several speakers from various anti-imperialist organizations and socialist organizations. They would be speaking on these issues, and they would also be available to answer any questions that you, the audience, may have. So I would now be listing out, the speakers. Now we'll have Comrade Adebayo Adedeji. He is from the Movement for African Emancipation. It's based in Nigeria.
Good morning.
We'll also have Comrade Abiodun Aremu. He is from the Amilcar Cabral Ideological School Movement. That's also in Nigeria. We have Comrade Inemesit Richardson. She is from the AAPRP, that's the All African People's Revolutionary Party. And she is also a lead in the Thomas Sankara Center for African Liberation and Unity. This is in Burkina Faso. We'd also have Prudence Itika. She is representing the United African Diaspora based in Canada. Then Comrade Bioma Ohia. He is also from the AAPRP, that's the All African People's Revolutionary Party. that's the United States chapter. So at this point, I will bring in, sorry, 1 second. If there are any questions, dear listeners and audience, you'll be able to type that in, to the chat, or you might also just raise your hand and indicate so that, we'll draw attention to you and listen to what you have to say. So moving on, at this point, I would like Comrade Adebayo Adedeji, who is from the Movement for African Emancipation, to follow up with the statement that he has for us. Thank you.
Before Comrade Adebayo reads the statement, I'll just translate your greeting into French, please. So thank you. So bienvenue, camarades. Cette conférence de presse est présentée par la Coalition pour l'élimination de l'impérialisme en Afrique, une coalition qui s'est créée après les mouvements qui se sont passés au Niger. C'est en fait une réponse à l'agression contre le Niger, mais c'est une coalition qui sert en fait à défendre l'Afrique en entière. Aujourd'hui, nous avons préparé un communiqué que nous allons partager avec vous en français puis en anglais. Nous avons également des camarades qui font partie des organisations à travers le monde qui vont pouvoir répondre à vos questions aujourd'hui après que nous lisons le communiqué. Ces camarades, je vais les introduire. Il y a le camarade Adebayo qui fait partie du mouvement pour l'émancipation de l'Afrique qui est basé au Nigeria. Il y a le camarade Abiodun qui fait partie du Amilcar Cabral Ideological School Movement aussi au Nigeria. Il y a aussi Comrade Shango qui fait aussi partie du mouvement pour l'émancipation de l'Afrique qui est aussi au Nigeria. Nous avons Inemesi Richardson qui fait partie du Parti révolutionnaire de tous les peuples africains ainsi que du Centre Thomas Sankara qui se trouve à Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. Et nous avons camarade Obiama Ohia qui se trouve aux États-Unis. Il est dans le chapitre des États-Unis pour le Parti révolutionnaire de tous les peuples africains. Et puis à moi, Prudence Itika, je suis basée au Canada et je fais partie de United African Diaspora. Donc maintenant, le camarade Adebayo, il va lire un communiqué. Puis après ce communiqué, je vais le lire encore en français. Et après, nous allons commencer, nous allons prendre des questions de l'audience et ces questions seront données à ces camarades que je viens de lister. Donc, Comrade Adebayo, you can now read the communiqué.
Thank you, Prudence. Am I being heard clearly before I go on with the press statements, please? Yes. Revolutionary greetings, comrades, brothers, sisters, and members of the press. We thank you for joining us today for a very important meeting to discuss the anti-imperialist struggle sweeping the Sahel. The purpose of this media briefing is to introduce our coalition to the international public, present the objective of this coalition, and call for an international solidarity campaign in defense of Africa against imperialist aggression. The coalition for this elimination of imperialism in Africa emerged from the immediate necessity to have a united response of the African people in defending the sovereignty and the will of the Nigerian people as expressed in the July 26, 2003 removal of the French imperialist agent, Mohamed Bazoum. We had, until then, functioned as President of the Republic of Niger on the dictates of French interests as opposed to the genuine interest of the Nigerian masses. Even with the specific reality, the Coalition for the Elimination of Imperialism in Africa is an anti-imperialist socialist movement in defense of all African people's struggle for liberation and self-determination. We oppose the international imperialist gang, their colonial servants, and others who align with them, terrorizing, undermining, and invading sovereign entity to oppress, exploit, and destroy life. We have these three defining objectives. Number one is to inform the international public about the anti-colonial struggle sweeping across Africa and provide an anti-imperialist perspective of the region's development. Two, to develop solidarity network for anti-imperialist organizations based in Africa to support their struggle on the front lines. 3, to organize international campaign in solidarity with those anti-colonial struggles across Africa. The coalition calls on a campaign to urge all Africa across the Pan-African world to join forces with masses and popular organizations in every space they are located to mass educate, mass engage, mass mobilize, mass organize in defense of the interests of the people in Niger and the Sahel region. Together, we must stop the plan by these so-called leaders in ECOWAS to invade Niger, leaders who lack democratic credibility, but who also, on the prompting of the France and the USA, have applied brutal sanctions to the people of Niger, cutting off electricity, preventing essentials such as medicine from entering the country. Leaders who continue to plan a military invasion of the territory of Niger in the guise of restoring democracy and reinstalling the assets back.
But he can't be president now.
This campaign seeks to rally Africans all over the world to come together in defense of not only Niger, but the whole of Africa. We cannot allow the imperialists and the local laggies to continue to exploit the resources of Africa. The wealth of Niger, like the wealth of Africa, does not benefit the African masses, but instead is exported to the West. All Africans across the world who cherish human dignity must join this campaign to liberate Africa from all these parasites and return ownership of our land and resources to the African people. The future of Africa is being decided now in the struggle sweeping the Sahel. Libya was attacked 12 years ago by NATO forces. The great Pan-Africanist Muammar Gaddafi was murdered. The socialist Libyan state destroyed. These are devastating consequences for Africa, but particularly in the Sahel region, which found itself invaded by Western-sponsored terrorists. We know the imperialists were not satisfied with the destabilization of Libya and now seek to do it again in Niger. As imperialism is in decline, it will become more desperate and more vicious. We know that these parasites rely on the natural and human resources of Africa for their very existence, and therefore we will not let it go without a brutal fight. African people across the world must stand ready for this fight. We are entering a critical and divisive phase of the African Revolution, one that will alter the fates of our continent forever. We would like to send a message to the people of Niger. Your courageous resistance to the imperialist aggression has inspired your family across the globe. This coalition has rapidly formed to show gratitude and give our support and our part to defend the revolutionary struggle you have undertaken. We are working to build bridges between anti-imperialist organizations based outside of Niger with those on the ground and on the front line. We stand ready to defend Niger against all imperialist and colonialist aggression. We also like to send a message to the people of Sahel. You have resurrected the flames of revolution in Africa. You are providing a model of Pan-African solidarity. We recognize that the struggle being waged in Sahel right now is a struggle for all Africa. When Sahel wins, all of Africa wins. We stand uncompromisingly behind the people of Sahel and the leaders you have chosen. We also need to send a message across to all Africans in home and in diaspora for their support. You must join this struggle to eliminate imperialism in Africa and around the globe. In addition to supporting our family on the front line of this struggle, we must remember that it's an ideological struggle as well. Remember that imperialists lie all the time. The United States, France, imperialist formation like NATO and neo-colonial formations like ECOWAS only desire our continued subjugation and exploitation. When they talk of democracy, they mean their preferred puppets are installed as rulers. When they say peace, they mean the absence of resistance to oppression. We must shun imperialist propaganda and develop strong political education programs to teach the truth to our people. More than ever, it is imperative that every single African across the planet be a member of the anti-imperialist organization fighting for the total decolonization of Africa. Africa is at war, and we must stand and ready to defend. Isoleto.
Thank you very much, Comrade Adebayo, for that powerful statement. Thank you very much. So at this point now, we'll move forward. At this point now, we'll move forward, and I would allow Comrade Prudence to read the statement in French. Thank you. Comrade Prudence, we can't seem to hear you. Please, could you check your mic and carry on with your statements? Thank you.
Okay. Oh, sorry, guys. I was asking if you can hear me. I guess you couldn't. Okay. Do you hear me now?
Yes. You're clear. Carry on.
Okay, thank you. Salutations révolutionnaires, camarades, frères, sœurs et membres de la presse. Nous vous remercions de vous joindre à nous aujourd'hui pour une réunion très importante afin de discuter la lutte anti-impérialiste qui balaie le Sahel. L'objectif de cette conférence de presse est de présenter notre coalition au public international, de présenter les objectifs de cette coalition et d'appeler à une campagne de solidarité internationale pour la défense de l'Afrique contre les agressions impérialistes. La coalition pour l'élimination de l'impérialisme en Afrique est née de la nécessité immédiate d'une réponse unie des peuples africains pour défendre la souveraineté et les souhaits du peuple nigérien tels qu'ils ont été exprimés dans la destitution le 26 juillet 2023 de l'agent impérialiste français Mohamed Bazoum, qui avait jusqu'alors exercé les fonctions de président de la République du Niger sur la base des intérêts français et non des intérêts réels des masses nigériennes. Malgré ces réalités spécifiques, la coalition pour l'élimination de l'impérialisme en Afrique est un mouvement anti-impérialiste et socialiste qui défend la lutte de tous les peuples africains pour la libération et l'autodétermination. Nous nous opposons à la bande impérialiste internationale, à ses serviteurs néocoloniaux et à tous ceux qui s'alignent sur elle, qui terrorisent, sapent et envahissent les entités souveraines pour les opprimer, les exploiter et détruire la vie. Nous avons trois objectifs principaux. Informer le public international sur les luttes anticoloniales qui traversent l'Afrique et fournir une perspective anti-impérialiste des développements de la région. Développer des réseaux de solidarité pour les organisations anti-impérialistes basées en Afrique afin de soutenir leur lutte en première ligne. Organiser les campagnes internationales de solidarité avec les luttes anticoloniales qui traversent l'Afrique. La coalition appelle à une campagne pour exhorter tous les Africains à travers le monde panafricain à unir leurs forces avec les organisations de masse et populaires dans tous les lieux où elles se trouvent pour éduquer, engager, mobiliser et organiser en masse la défense des intérêts des populations du Niger et du Sahel. Ensemble, nous devons mettre fin au projet d'invasion du Niger par les soi-disant dirigeants de la C.E.I.A, des dirigeants qui manquent de crédibilité démocratique, mais qui, à l'instigation de la France et des États-Unis, ont appliqué des sanctions brutales au peuple nigérien, coupant l'électricité et empêchant l'entrée des produits de première nécessité tels que les médicaments dans le pays. Des dirigeants qui continuent à planifier une invasion militaire du territoire du Niger sous couvert de rétablir la démocratie et de réinstaller Bazoum. Cette campagne vise à rassembler les Africains du monde entier pour défendre non seulement le Niger, mais aussi l'ensemble de l'Afrique. Nous ne pouvons pas permettre aux impérialistes et à leurs laquais locaux de continuer à exploiter les ressources de l'Afrique. La richesse du Niger, comme la richesse de l'Afrique, ne profite pas aux masses africaines, mais est exportée vers l'Occident. Tous les Africains du monde entier qui chérissent la dignité humaine doivent se joindre à cette campagne pour libérer l'Afrique de tous ces parasites et rendre la propriété de nos terres et de nos ressources au peuple africain. L'avenir de l'Afrique se joue dans la lutte qui secoue le Sahel. La Libye a été attaquée il y a 12 ans par les forces de l'OTAN. Le grand panafricaniste Mohamed Kadhafi a été assassiné et l'État socialiste libyen détruit. Cela a eu des conséquences dévastatrices pour l'Afrique, mais surtout pour la région du Sahel, qui s'est retrouvée envahie par des terroristes soutenus par l'Occident. Nous savons que les impérialistes n'ont pas été satisfaits de leur déstabilisation de la Libye et qu'ils cherchent maintenant à le faire au Niger. À mesure que l'impérialisme décline, il devient de plus en plus désespéré et de plus en plus vicieux. Nous savons que ces parasites dépendent des ressources naturelles et humaines de l'Afrique pour leurs existences et qu'ils ne laisseront donc pas partir sans un combat brutal. Les Africains du monde entier doivent se tenir prêts à mener ce combat. Nous entrons dans une phase critique et décisive de la révolution africaine, une phase qui modifiera à jamais le destin de notre continent. Au peuple du Niger, votre courageuse résistance à l'agression impérialiste a inspiré votre famille à travers le monde. Cette coalition s'est rapidement formée pour vous témoigner notre gratitude, vous apporter notre soutien et faire notre part pour défendre la lutte révolutionnaire que vous avez entreprise. Nous travaillons à construire des ponts entre les organisations anti-impérialistes basées à l'extérieur du Niger et celles qui sont sur le terrain et en première ligne. Nous sommes prêts à défendre le Niger contre toute agression impérialiste et néocolonialiste. Au peuple du Sahel, vous avez rallumé la flamme de la révolution en Afrique. Vous êtes un modèle de solidarité panafricaine. Nous reconnaissons que la lutte menée actuellement au Sahel est une lutte pour toute l'Afrique. Lorsque le Sahel gagne, c'est toute l'Afrique qui gagne. Nous soutenons sans compromis le peuple du Sahel et les dirigeants que vous avez choisis. Aux masses africaines, vous devez vous joindre à la lutte pour éliminer l'impérialisme en Afrique et dans le monde entier. En plus de soutenir notre famille en première ligne de cette lutte, nous devons nous rappeler qu'il s'agit également d'une lutte idéologique. N'oublions pas que les impérialistes mentent tout le temps. Les États-Unis, la France, les formations impérialistes comme l'OTAN, les formations néocoloniales comme la C.E.I.A ne souhaitent que la poursuite de notre assujettissement et de notre exploitation. Lorsqu'ils parlent de la démocratie, ils veulent que leur marionnette préférée soit installée à la tête du pays. Quand ils parlent de la paix, ils veulent dire l'absence de la résistance à l'oppression. Nous devons rejeter la propagande impérialiste et développer de solides programmes d'éducation politique pour enseigner la vérité à notre peuple. Plus que jamais, il est impératif que chaque Africain de cette planète soit membre d'une organisation anti-impérialiste, luttant pour la décolonisation totale de l'Afrique. L'Afrique est en guerre et nous devons tous être prêts à la défendre. En avant vers l'achèvement de la révolution africaine. Merci.
Thank you, Comrade Prudence, for that. Thank you very much. So at this point, yes, as the statements have been read out, the audience, you are now aware of the things that are going on. You are now aware of the status quo. And at this point, if anybody has any questions, now is the time to just make yourself known and ask. Our capable speakers will definitely say the necessary things and answer you accordingly. Thank you.
C'est maintenant la période de questions. Donc, si quelqu'un a une question, vous pouvez soit vous unmute et poser ces questions à nos membres qui vont les répondre ou vous pouvez les écrire.
They also can see where they get the lead, they don't go right. So I'm not surprised.
Okay. one has come through the chats, and I would read it out. And Conrad Abiodun, can you hear me?
Hello, Comrade, go ahead. I'm filling in for Comrade Abiodun here. This is Commission. Go ahead with the question.
All right. Thank you, Commission. Thank you, Commission. I'll read it out now. And the question here is: the president of Nigeria is currently the chair of ECOWAS, and he is one of the people who support a military intervention into Niger. How are the masses in Nigeria reacting to their country wanting to go to war with their brothers to serve the interest of the West? I can repeat the question if you'd like.
It's
I'll
clear.
just repeat it in French. Sorry, can I just
Yes.
repeat the question in French? So
Yes,
la question pour le camarade qui est basé au Nigeria, c'est le président du Nigeria est actuellement président de la C.E.I.A et c'est lui, il est une des personnes qui soutient le plus une intervention militaire au Niger. Donc la question, c'est pour demander comment est-ce que les masses au Nigériens, est-ce qu'ils ont réagi au fait que leur pays est en train de préparer une guerre contre leurs voisins au Niger?
Yeah, thank you. I'm filling in for Comrade Abiodun, who unfortunately cannot be here. My name is Shongo Omojola with Movement for African Emancipation. So I'll just take the question from the perspective of Nigeria. And if Comrade Adebayo would like to come in as well, he was the main speaker earlier, then he can also come in. So if I go ahead, how are the masses of Nigeria reacting to this? The masses are very much against the president of Nigeria being involved in an attack on Niger. And I think, looking particularly at the north of the country, which borders Niger, which people have had long-standing relationships with that country. There have been protests in places like Kano, but the general feeling is definitely against an attack, which is going to make, for one thing, is going to make the issue of terrorism and security worse. But the other thing is that people can, throughout the country from north to south, can see the hypocrisy in the attack on Niger for the fact that supposedly democracy, a democratic government was removed. Because people understand that for all the years we've had democracy in Nigeria and across Africa, we haven't actually practiced any such thing. And so it would be quite hypocritical to attack, that country. But at the same time, in Nigeria, the president of Nigeria has been taking orders from the IMF and the World Bank, and that is clear to every Nigerian, or let us say the masses of Nigerians who suffer under the yoke of the policies like the removal of subsidy, increasing tuition fees, making tuition education no longer free in this country, devaluing the currency. And certainly, so people can see the hands of the imperialists involved in this. And so for that, they also oppose an attack on Niger. The vast majority of people, you can tell the sense of people in this country are very much opposed. The last thing I would say is the president of this country is in court for the fact that his own election was disputed. And so the hypocrisy rankles. But people can also see the United States of America, the so-called bastion of democracy, supporting an undemocratic president to restore democracy in Niger. And I think lastly, very lastly, the issue of Pan-Africanism, the issue of controlling our resources. This all ties into what is going on in Niger, and I think the Nigerian masses are beginning to sense the connections. For example, we are not able to refine our crude oil in Nigeria. We have foreign oil multinationals controlling the crude oil. We have now a scenario where the masses of the country are being told by the West to suffer further deprivations, and we can see our resources are not being controlled. So I think that certainly there's more potential to educate the masses of Nigeria about the ties of imperialism and why they are suffering. But I think already people can see in Niger very clearly that that is what is going on. Thank you.
Ok, donc je vais traduire. Bon, il a évoqué quelques points. D'abord, il a fait ça clair que les masses sont contre le président Tinubu et son désir d'attaquer le Niger, surtout la partie du nord, n'est-ce pas, qui est une partie qui est encore plus proche du Niger et ils ont une relation très proche avec ce peuple. Il a aussi évoqué le fait que le président d'abord du Nigeria lui-même, vous savez bien que son élection, il y a eu beaucoup de cacophonie autour de ça et il est vu comme un président lui-même qui n'a pas été démocratiquement élu. Donc, le fait qu'un président lui-même qui n'a pas été démocratiquement élu est ailleurs en train de vouloir mener une guerre, soi-disant pour restaurer la démocratie dans un autre pays, le peuple du Nigeria sont très clairs que c'est vraiment hypocrite. En plus aussi, vous savez, récemment, le Nigeria a accepté de prendre des fonds de la Banque mondiale, ce qui explique pourquoi récemment au Nigeria, les peuples souffrent beaucoup avec les prix qui ont beaucoup augmenté. Il y avait auparavant, le prix du gaz était très moins cher auparavant au Nigeria, mais cela a été coupé et les prix récemment ont augmenté. Il y a eu des grandes manifestations au Nigeria. Donc, les gens comprennent clairement que la façon que ce président se comporte est directement lié, bien sûr, à l'association qu'il a avec les impérialistes de l'Ouest, les États-Unis. Ils voient clairement leurs mains dedans. Donc, le peuple est au courant de l'hypocrisie de toute cette histoire au sujet de la démocratie. Ils sont aussi clairs du fait qu'ils savent que l'impérialisme joue un rôle derrière Tinubu pour le pousser à faire la guerre contre le Niger. Mais c'est clair, les masses opposent totalement ce que leur gouvernement essaye de faire.
All right. Thank you, Comrade Shongo. Thank you, Comrade Prudence, for those responses. As it is now, I have 2 questions in the chat, and I'll just, we'll take them one by one. Now, the first one goes for the new people, for people with little background on this issue, why is Niger extremely important to Western interests? Who are trying to be clear on why the imperialist powers and influences are so bent on Niger remaining a new colony. I would like to direct this question towards Comrade Nemesis, if you can hear me, and if you'd like me to repeat the question, I
will. So what I got from the question was why, sorry, I'm kind of paraphrasing, why the focus on Niger, more or less? Like, what is the importance? Can you hear me, by the way? I have a mic. I want to make sure that it's working okay.
You're clear, okay. And your paraphrase was, accurate. Why is Niger so important to Western interests? Why are they so bent on keeping that country in shackles?
Okay, there's several things that make Niger, I would say, one of the most important countries in the region of West Africa for Western interests. I'll repeat the question in French. Prudence, shall I let you do that, or what do you prefer?
La question est pourquoi le Niger est tellement important à l'Occident? Qu'est-ce qu'il y a là-bas qui fait que les Occidentaux sont tellement dédiés à garder la main sur ce pays?
Okay, so Niger is very crucial for Western interests for a multitude of reasons. For one, Niger has long served as a headquarters for military operations within the Sahel, particularly with the United States. So the U.S. military operations in Africa operate under U.S. Africa Command, or AFRICOM, and they've been primarily concentrated. Like, they have basically 2 major headquarters, AFRICOM, within Africa. One of their major headquarters is in Djibouti, in the Horn of Africa, which is a very, very highly militarized and invaded sub-region of Africa. And their other major headquarters is in Niger, which is the second, highly militarized zone within the African continent.
I think some of the people, as well as in the declaration, we talked about some of the resources in Niger, primarily uranium. So France has long exploited Niger's uranium, both for like purposes of supplying electricity to their population. So about a third of French households have at some point relied on uranium from Niger for an electricity supply. I always like to talk about how the Eiffel Tower has used Niger's uranium also as an electricity supply, just because it's such a major symbol of France. So we can literally see like how the major symbol of France is dependent on Niger. Sometimes we talk about Africa being dependent, and I understand there's like a big benefit to framing things that way in terms of like, you know, our neocolonial situation makes us dependent and needing to be free. But we also have to understand the West is so dependent on Africa, and France is so dependent on Niger. Niger's uranium has been used to make nuclear arms for France and the West in general. So some people know about how uranium from the Democratic Republic of Congo was used to bomb Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II when the United States bombed Japan. Niger was also used from uranium in that bomb as well. So I think I said that correctly. Uranium from Niger was also used, is what I meant to say. So those are a few reasons. I mentioned that Niger is a major military headquarters for the West, for AFRICOM specifically. So AFRICOM has the second largest drone base in Africa. They're located in Niger, in the city of Agadez, which is a massive drone base that cost about $100 million to build, which was very controversial at the time because it was a large sum of money normally for like this sort of a project. So they were really serious about like using Niger like as a sort of focus in the region. They also continue to operate in Niamey. So there's another air base that AFRICOM is previously using in the capital city of Niamey. And then there's a lesser known C.I.A. drone base in the town of Dirkou, which is near Libya. And I don't believe that there are that many well-known C.I.A. drone bases in the world. Like I've seen that there's maybe one in Saudi Arabia and maybe in Afghanistan, but for the most part, there's not that many. And so I think it's very significant that the C.I.A. also has their own specific drone base that they operate within Niger as well. And then on the French side of things, for a while, Mali was kind of the headquarters in terms of French military operations in the Sahel with their Operation Barkhane, which was the name of their long-standing operations for the past decade or so, where they were focused on fighting, quote-unquote, terrorism in Mali. We've talked about how that actually was a result of the NATO invasion of Libya, largely. But once Assimi Goïta of Mali kicked out the Operation Barkhane and sent the French troops back, they all sort of moved into Niger. And so Niger became the major point of concentration. I think I'll stop there. Should I just translate it, or what do you prefer? OK, alors je vais juste traduire en français. Alors j'ai dit quelque chose. Premièrement, la question c'est pourquoi l'importance du Niger? Pourquoi le Niger est assez important? J'ai commencé en expliquant que les opérations militaires états-uniennes existent sous le nom de AFRICOM, US Africa Command. Et AFRICOM, ils ont deux bases principales en Afrique. Premièrement, c'est à Djibouti, dans le coin de l'Afrique, une sous-région qui est hyper militarisée. Deuxièmement, ils ont leur grande base au Niger, en Agadez. Le Sahel, une autre zone hyper militarisée en Afrique. Alors, on voit ces deux zones, vraiment deux sièges différents, Djibouti et Niger, les grandes concentrations pour les militaires américains depuis longtemps. J'ai parlé également de l'uranium. On a parlé beaucoup de l'uranium déjà dans les déclarations, mais on sait qu'un tiers des foyers en France a à un moment utilisé... can you hear me? Est-ce que vous m'entendez? À un moment utiliser l'électricité de l'uranium du Niger pour éclairer leur maison. Et aussi le tour d'Eiffel aussi utilise parfois l'uranium du Niger pour éclairer le tour d'Eiffel, un grand symbole de la France. Souvent, les gens savent que quand les États-Unis ont bombardé le Japon pendant la Seconde Guerre mondiale, ils ont utilisé l'uranium qui vient du Congo-Kinshasa. C'est vrai, mais ils ont utilisé aussi l'uranium qui vient du Niger. Alors, on sait que cet uranium a été utilisé depuis longtemps pour fabriquer des armes nucléaires. Autre chose, j'ai parlé de comment Africom a deux bases différentes au Niger. Il y a premièrement Agadez, la grande base qui a coûté 100 millions de dollars américains pour construire. Et c'était un scandale parce que c'est pas normal, en fait, de dépenser une grande somme jusqu'à 7 points sur une base. Alors, ça a déjà indiqué que c'est une grande focus d'importance pour le militaire américain. Mais aussi, ils continuent d'avoir leur opération à Niamey, dans leur base originale dans la capitale du Niger. Et puis, le CIA a leur propre base des drones aussi à Durkou, vers la frontière avec la Libye. Et c'est une réalité, en fait. Il n'y a pas beaucoup de bases des drones qui sont opérés directement par les CIA. Alors, on peut déjà voir l'importance du Niger côté militaire. Et puis, on sait déjà aussi que quand Assimi Goïta a dit à l'opération Barkhane, les Français, de rentrer chez eux, de quitter le Mali, on sait qu'il s'est concentré après sur le Niger. Alors, le Mali était comme les bases pour les opérations militaires françaises dans la sous-région, et maintenant, c'est devenu le Niger après. Alors, on voit déjà l'importance stratégique du Niger pour l'Occident.
Thank you, Comrade Inem, for that. Thank you, Comrade Inem. We have another question here. And Comrade Bioma, this will be directed at you. Okay. What concrete program does this coalition have to support and defend Niger in particular and the Sahel in general? I'll repeat again. What concrete program does this coalition have to support and defend Niger in particular and the Sahel in general? Thank you.
Can you all hear me?
You're clear, Comrade. Carry on.
This is a great question. One of the things we are working to do is to call a day of action. So this, as we have members in various parts of the globe, this could take on various forms. Those of us who have access to embassies would either have demonstrations outside of embassies, or even we can have call-in campaigns for embassies. I think one of the main things that we want to do is really to connect with people on the ground. So for example, INEM is in Burkina Faso, and we are hoping to help INEM build out the Thomas Sankara Center, and also with any programs to connect directly with people in Niger. Our main focus is that we, as outside of the Sahel, we want to support those that are there. We don't want to come in with programs from above. We want to listen to people to understand what they need from us and how we can use our connections throughout the world to support the work that they are doing on the front line. Thank you.
Ok, donc la question était comme, bon, c'est quoi en fait que la coalition, qu'est-ce qu'il y a de concret, quel est le programme concret que la coalition a pour soutenir et défendre le Niger? Le camarade a d'abord répondu que nous planifions comme une journée comme internationale d'action pour avoir comme des démonstrations à travers le monde, surtout que dans la coalition, il y a des membres en fait à travers plusieurs continents dont nous serons capables d'avoir une journée comme internationale avec des démonstrations autour du monde. Et il a aussi fait clair que la coalition C.E.I.A a été créée vraiment pour supporter ceux qui sont là-bas sur la première ligne, n'est-ce pas? Ça veut dire les membres, les peuples du Niger, les organisations, les panafricanistes qui sont au Niger ou au Sahel aussi en général, et vraiment de pouvoir bâtir des connexions avec eux pour que c'est eux qui vont plutôt nous guider et nous dire qu'est-ce que eux ils ont besoin de nous, puisque nous sommes à l'extérieur du Niger. Donc nous, on est là en fait pour appuyer leur lutte, n'est-ce pas? Donc, nous cherchons à être guidés par les organisations ou les panafricanistes qui sont au Sahel ou au Niger. Donc, ce programme, en fait, concret sera développé quand nous allons d'abord bâtir ces relations avec ces organisations et ils pourront nous dire alors, voilà ce que nous avons besoin, voilà comment vous pouvez vraiment nous supporter concrètement.
Thank you for that, for the response. Thank you for the response to those questions. Is we are still here, we still have a little time, so the audience, I would encourage you to type any questions you have. Capable comrades here would answer accordingly. Thank you. Just hold on for a little. Yeah, I'll give it 2 minutes. 2 minutes. All right, one seems to be coming in.
Sorry, Comrade Audubon, there's actually, I think we missed one. There was 2 questions right now in the chat.
Okay. Please, could Lily type her question again? I don't have it on
I
my
can
screen.
read it. I have it here.
Okay,
So
okay.
Lily asks, which channels or individuals/organizations can we send financial contributions in support of the movement in Niger so they can use the fund to fuel their work? I'll just translate in French. Quels canaux, individus, organismes pouvons-nous envoyer des contributions financières afin de soutenir le mouvement au Niger et de permettre de faire leur travail?
All right. For this question, I will call Comrade Nemesis to give her response. Okay, more questions.
Okay. Sorry. So they can fund and fuel their work. So as of now, I'm not sure if there are, like, I don't know of specific organizations in Niger that have like fundraising campaigns that are open in terms of like having sort of crowdfunding, that kind of thing that people can tap into. Sorry, there's so much noise where I am. I think there's a wedding happening. I think this folds into another question that a comrade is asking in the group chat, and so it might help to address both. I'll say that at least on the ground in Burkina Faso and Ouagadougou, we're also working on coalition building between organizations in the Sahel region. And the goal is also so that we can get greater support for multiple organizations that are operating not just in Burkina Faso, but in Burkina, Mali, and Niger. But we're still pretty much in pretty early phases of that. So I don't know right now of like orgs in Niger that are soliciting funds internationally necessarily for that kind of project. But I do think in the future, that's something that hopefully like some of the organizing that we're doing on the ground will be able to clarify and also sort of put out. The Thomas Sankara Center in Burkina Faso, it does collect. You don't hear my background noise. Okay, it's so noisy here. It's so loud. The Thomas Sankara Center in Burkina Faso we are primarily funded from donations, international donations. I think this is also like a difference. Most of the organizations that operate across the Sahel don't necessarily have the same kind of funding source that we do, because we are primarily funded by like individuals in the African diaspora / maybe like socialists and revolutionaries in various parts of the world. And I think, you know, a lot of organizations unfortunately don't necessarily have the same connection, specifically like English speaking sort of diasporas and communities and stuff like that. So we are trying to build like a broader coalition that can help organizations, not just ourselves, but in other, specifically in Mali and Niger, come together on certain points. And then I think at that point, it will also be like easier for us to come up with ways to support those groups, if that makes some sense. Alors, la question était comment on peut supporter les organisations et les structures au Niger. J'ai dit que je ne sais pas nécessairement, je ne connais pas personnellement. Et je veux dire aussi, si vous qui êtes ici au Burkina ont des suggestions, il faut écrire aussi dans les messages, si vous avez une idée mieux que moi. Moi, j'ai dit que je n'ai pas nécessairement une idée d'une organisation au Niger qui est en train de solliciter le financement de dehors avec les crowdfunding, les GoFundMe et consorts qu'on utilise ici. Mais j'ai dit qu'on est en train d'essayer de créer aussi une coalition des organisations révolutionnaires à travers le Burkina, le Mali, le Niger, et qu'on est à un stade tôt de cette coalition, de création de cette coalition. Mais je pense qu'une idée est qu'avec la création de notre coalition aussi, ça peut aussi aider aux autres organisations d'être plus connues, avoir accès aux dons et consorts avec les groupes qui sont internationaux, parce que notre financement, c'est un peu unique. Comme on est financé par la diaspora et aussi des révolutionnaires et des socialistes et consorts, spécifiquement dans les sphères anglophones, il y a beaucoup d'autres structures qui n'ont pas accès, en fait, à ces réseaux spécifiquement de financement qu'on a. Alors, c'est un peu différent. Mais j'ai dit que les gens peuvent supporter notre projet aussi au Burkina, qui est Burkina Books, sur les réseaux Instagram, Patreon, Cash App, c'est Burkina Books, et puis on a un GoFundMe si les gens veulent contribuer.
Thank you, Comrade Inem, for that. Please, if you could just hold on. There is another question here directed at you.
You're muted,
You have to mute yourself, Comrade.
Okay. I was saying, Comrade Inem, please just hold on. Just be on standby. There's a question here directed at you, and then we'll be taking one more question that is Comrade Obioma would handle. So I'll just read this quickly. Thank you. All right, now, we have heard speeches of President Ibrahim Traore invoking the spirits and ideas of Thomas Sankara and the need for united Africa and Pan-Africanism. Niger is being backed by Burkina Faso, Mali, Guinea, and others in the Sahel region. How is support being built for Niger towards Pan-Africanism? Comrade Prudence, please, if you could repeat that in French.
Ok, so la question c'est pour camarade Inem. On a entendu beaucoup de discours de notre président Ibrahim Traoré qui invoque l'esprit de Thomas Sankara et la nécessité d'une Afrique unie et du panafricanisme. On sait que le Niger est bien soutenu par le Burkina Faso ainsi que le Mali et même la Guinée-Conakry et d'autres pays de la région. Comment est-ce que le Niger alors bénéficie-t-il de ce soutien en faveur pour le panafricanisme?
Okay. There's very, very strong. Sorry, it's for me? Okay.
Yes.
It is very, very strong people-to-people connections between Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. And I think the movements that are happening across the three movements are very, very connected. So, for example, immediately after the coup happened in Niger, there were people waving the flags of Burkina Faso and waving the flags of Mali and like putting those up on their grand, like their big, I don't remember, somebody, I'll ask the comrades here, what they call like their meeting money memorial in Niamey where they all were gathering. But you could see like the Burkina and the Malian flag up there. The three countries have really had like this ambition on the grassroots level of creating this federation, of connecting, of unifying both the movement and just their states. In Burkina and Mali, for example, after after Burkina Faso began to take the same direction. So to give some context, Mali was the first country in the Sahel during our recent times of the past few years to take this anti-imperialist direction. So Mali really spearheaded this turn in our region. And after Burkina Faso started to go the direction of Mali, because the people really wanted to have a leader like Assimi Goïta, like the people of Burkina, when they finally got a leader that was like Goïta, which was Ibrahim Traoré, marched on foot from, the people of Mali marched on foot from Bamako to Ouagadougou, because there was this big movement towards the creation of a federation. And ever since both Burkina and Mali had those anti-imperialist coups, people in Niger have been talking and anticipating and calling for a coup in their country nonstop for the past over a year now. So I think these three countries are very coordinated, but we need to increase the level of organization also that's on the ground. So we have like these movements, and we have this popular will and consciousness that's very unified. We have a struggle that's like on the people-to-people level that's very coordinated, but we need to also increase our level of grassroots organization and coordination, which is why I think some of the coalition building that we're doing is very, very exciting. And I'm hoping that just a lot comes out of it, and that we're like able to work very closely with these groups that are in Mali and Niger. I feel like we're so short on time, so I'll just try to sum up quickly. Alors, j'ai dit que pour les questions de panafricanisme au Niger, l'unité entre les trois pays, j'ai dit que au niveau de peuple, en fait, les peuples sont très unifiés dans leur esprit, dans leur mouvement, le mouvement populaire, mais aussi les mouvements juste physiques, les voyages et les routes que les gens prennent. Il y a beaucoup d'échanges entre les peuples dans ces trois pays. Et que le Mali était le premier pays dans nos temps récents de prendre cette direction anti-impérialiste. Ça a commencé dans ces années récentes avec Assimi Goïta, qui a pris la direction anti-impérialiste. Et depuis ce moment, le Burkina avait aussi l'aspiration d'avoir quelqu'un comme une Assimi Goïta. Et le second, comme on a remarqué que Ibrahim Traoré, il est comme ça, il a cette aussi ambition anti-impérialiste, il prend une politique similaire. On a vu que le mouvement vers la fédération est devenu très, très fort. Et les gens ont marché à pied entre les Bamako et Ouagadougou pour exprimer cette unité entre les peuples. Et au Niger, depuis les Burkina et les Mali ont pris cette direction anti-impérialiste avec ces coups populaires. Les Nigériens avaient cette aspiration, ils ont demandé quand est-ce qu'ils auront leur coup d'État, et enfin, ils ont eu. Et on a vu qu'immédiatement à Niamey, et j'ai dit que les Burkinabés qui sont là pouvaient m'aider un peu, j'ai oublié le nom de leur monument à Niamey où ils se rencontrent pour leur manifestation, mais on a vu qu'ils ont mis le drapeau de Mali et le drapeau de Burkina, grand drapeau depuis presque le premier jour de ce coup pour exprimer en fait l'unité avec le Mali et le Burkina. Alors on a ce grand mouvement, mais je dis aussi qu'il faut augmenter l'unification au niveau des organisations, dans les manières bien organisées. Alors, on a les consciences unifiées, on a les mouvements et les mobilisations unifiées. Maintenant, il faut juste que les organisations sont bien organisées. Et j'ai dit que je crois qu'avec les coalitions qu'on essaie de créer, en fait, avec des structures au Mali, au Niger, que ça va être une grande étape pour les structures, en tout cas révolutionnaires, socialistes, panafricaines, d'avoir leur unité entre ces trois pays. Et vraiment, j'espère que ça va être une grande force aussi de pousser vers cette unité entre les pays.
Thank you, Inem, for that response. Thank you again for answering these questions. I will now be directing this last one towards Corridor Bioma.
I'm sorry, guys. Can I just interrupt? There's a comment that was made in the chat that I think needs to be translated. It was made by Comrade Wendlasida. He wrote it in French, so I just want to translate for the group. He said, if possible, we can raise like an international campaign to raise funds for a number of targeted organizations in Niger. The population is beginning to suffer deeply from the sanctions. As we know, ECOWAS released brutal sanctions upon them shortly after the coup. So I think that's a really great comment that speaks to what was asked earlier in regards to how can we financially, like materially support the struggle in Niger. And I think this is something this coalition should definitely take on in terms of like having an international fundraiser for the people in Niger. So I just wanted to make sure that statement was read.
Can you say it also in French for Comrade Prudence? The answer to the question? Or the answer to the issue?
J'ai juste lu le commentaire qui a été mis dans le chat au sujet de la nécessité de faire une collection de fonds internationaux en direction pour les peuples du Niger, surtout que nous savons tous qu'il y a eu des sanctions brutales qui ont été mis sur le peuple. Donc, j'ai dit que je pense que ça, c'est quelque chose vraiment que cette coalition, en fait, doit prendre en charge, surtout que nous sommes membres à travers le monde. Ça veut dire que nous sommes capables vraiment de créer une campagne internationale pour pouvoir amasser de l'argent et envoyer au peuple du Niger. Donc, ça, c'est quelque chose que nous pouvons ajouter à un plan concret, en fait, quelque chose de concret que nous pouvons faire pour le peuple du Niger.
Lovely. Thank you. Okay, so I'll now be reading the question. Comrade Bioma, the question is, what is the AU being the African Union? What is the African Union's position on this, you know, in relation to the ECOWAS planning a possible military intervention? So I'll repeat, what is the African Union's position on this issue?
Je vais juste translate. Il est en train de demander aux camarades que c'est quoi en fait la position de l'Union africaine envers la situation qui se déroule en ce moment au Niger et au Sahel et aussi face au fait que ECOWAS veut mener une attaque contre le Niger.
Yes. So short answer is the AU just rejected the idea of a military intervention. I think that there are some reasons for this. One, a military intervention by ECOWAS forces was estimated to need about a year to be organized. There's been reports of perhaps France and the US trying to build up some forces in Libya and the Al-Wig base to support these efforts. This goes to a longer or bigger issue that the ECOWAS forces are not as strong as they're claimed to be. Just in Nigeria, there's been reports of soldiers protesting low wages, lack of rations, and this is the force that's supposed to be sent to war. On the side of the AU, as any rational observer would see, an ECOWAS invasion of Niger would be a disaster. It would be a humanitarian disaster. It would not be a quick victory as the ECOWAS is thinking. And also it would even further allow the Western-backed terrorists to run amok in the region. Because the AU is not as connected to is not as controlled by France and the US as ECOWAS. The AU has a little more room to breathe. All their, for example, leaders in some of the ECOWAS states, they have a lot of assets in these Western countries that could be confiscated if they don't do as the West wants. Because the AU has a little more room to breathe, I feel that that's probably why they took a more rational decision to not try a military intervention.
OK, donc il a d'abord dit que en fait, l'Union africaine a d'abord rejeté l'idée d'une intervention militaire. Il y a plusieurs raisons pour cela. Tout d'abord, une intervention de cette ampleur nécessiterait au moins 1 an pour préparer. La réalité, c'est que les forces de la C.E.I.A ne sont pas en fait aussi fortes qu'elles pensent qu'elles le sont, donc ils auront en fait besoin du soutien extérieur. Une invasion aussi de la C.E.D.A.O entraînerait aussi une catastrophe humanitaire, en fait, parce que ça ne sera pas une victoire rapide comme ils le pensent. Puis on sait aussi que, bien sûr, une intervention militaire va aussi permettre à ces terroristes qui sont soutenus d'abord par l'Occident de faire encore plus de dégâts à travers la région. Et aussi, il parle de la structure de l'Union africaine. Elle n'est pas aussi liée aux États-Unis ou à la France comme la C.E.D.A.O, qui est clairement un agent de la France. De nombreux dirigeants de la C.E.D.A.O, eux, ils possèdent même ils ont les comptes, ils ont beaucoup de trucs en Occident, ce qui fait qu'ils sont encore plus sensibles aux sanctions occidentales, n'est-ce pas? Et en fait, c'est ça qui explique que le fait qu'il y a les États dans l'Union africaine qui n'ont pas cette relation tellement proche de l'Occident, tellement proche des États-Unis et de la France, ça leur permet de faire d'avoir des décisions un peu plus rationnelles parce qu'ils ont un peu plus d'espace, ils ne sont pas aussi contrôlés par l'Occident.
Okay. Thank you very much for those responses. Thank you very much for answering the question. We have run out of time for this press conference, and I will be bringing in a few things. Grateful to the audience for making our time to join. Thankful also for the panelists. Thankful for the translations.
Sorry to interrupt, Audubon. I'm trying to message you, but you're not seeing my message. There's a comrade who apparently has had his hand up for a very long time. He's right. He wrote it in French. Comrade Abdul Salam. He said he's had his hand up. I think we must have missed that hand up.
Apologies, Abdul Salam. Apologies, Abdul Salam.
Abdul Salam, est-ce que tu aimerais toujours parler? Tu peux être notre dernière question ou commentaire.
Oui, c'est plus un commentaire que je voudrais faire.
Ok.
Donc, déjà rapidement, je voulais en tout cas saluer cette initiative qui est une première et dont j'espère qu'il va se perpétuer, en tout cas dans un intervalle de temps assez réduit, parce qu'il est très urgent qu'on puisse se parler et réfléchir aux stratégies à mettre en place pour notre objectif et notre idéal commun. Et très rapidement, j'avais 2 observations quant aux propositions concrètes à faire. J'ai lu dans le chat la proposition du camarade Fabrice qui propose voilà, donc une levée de fonds en faveur du Niger. J'avais une proposition similaire, mais je ne crois pas qu'une levée de fonds en faveur des populations du Niger pourrait vraiment être une solution. Parce que je ne sais pas combien de milliards est-ce qu'on pourrait mobiliser en tout cas pour vraiment venir en tout cas à bout des besoins de la population. Mais qu'en est-il que même si c'est voilà, donc même si c'est 5 francs qu'on apporte, c'est quand même un apport. Mais ce que je pense, je trouve que nous sommes beaucoup focalisés sur l'attaque militaire. Je crois que la C.E.D.A.O aujourd'hui, effectivement, attaque le Niger, mais sur un autre plan qui est autre que militaire. La C.E.D.A.O aujourd'hui attaque le Niger, ou disons, attaque déjà le Niger économiquement, financièrement. Donc, je pense que l'urgence est déjà à ce niveau et comme il a su le souligner, effectivement, les populations sont déjà presque en train, en tout cas, de s'étouffer. Donc, les jours et semaines à venir, en tout cas, vont être davantage difficiles. Et je pense que l'urgence qu'il y a pour nous de faire, c'est vraiment de faire une campagne de communication sur les réseaux et tout ça, vraiment, en tout cas, pour demander à la C.E.D.A.O vraiment de lever ces sanctions illégitimes et impopulaires là, contre le Niger, et pour qu'effectivement les populations puissent tranquillement vaquer à leurs occupations et pouvoir, en tout cas, librement mener leurs activités et leurs échanges. Je crois que comme ça, voilà, donc on pourrait vraiment, en tout cas, venir, en tout cas, un temps soit peu, en tout cas, au secours des populations. Le second temps, la seconde intervention que je voudrais faire, c'est voilà, aussi en termes aussi de proposition. En même temps, ça me fait aussi faire le lien avec un commentaire que j'ai dû lire quelque part où quelqu'un demandait quel est vraiment le fondement social des coups d'État qui sont opérés dans les pays du Sahel. Je crois que je ne sais pas vraiment s'il y a un fondement social, mais en tout cas, moi, en ce qui me concerne, je pense que c'est un choix par défaut. Voilà, c'est pas vraiment un fondement qu'on a comme ça de vouloir faire des coups d'État pour espérer le changement, mais c'est un choix par dépôt parce que nous avons effectivement envie de changement. Nous avons envie de faire changer les choses. Nous avons envie en tout cas donc de lutter contre tout ce qui pille nos ressources. Maintenant, on n'a pas autre alternative que de s'accrocher aujourd'hui au coup d'État qui, en tout cas, se présente comme étant la forme la plus facile. Mais ce que nous, réellement, on souhaite, et ce que nous faisons chaque jour, en tout cas à travers nos cercles d'études, effectivement, c'est de travailler à élever les consciences et des masses. C'est vraiment travailler nous-mêmes déjà, en tout cas, à s'outiller davantage sur les questions liées.
Est-ce qu'on t'a perdu?
Donc, pour terminer, en fait, non, je disais juste que pour nous, il y a besoin effectivement de mettre en place des programmes d'éducation populaire en faveur des jeunes du Sahel. Et donc, pour moi, l'action à long terme que nous avons à mener vraiment, c'est de mettre l'accent sur ça, c'est de créer, en tout cas, pouvoir mettre en place des dispositifs pour pouvoir éduquer les masses. Voilà, et donc pour ça, il y a plusieurs formes que nous avons déjà réfléchi. Il y a des forums, il y a une école d'éducation citoyenne et pour jeunes. Donc, c'est entre autres, effectivement, les propositions et voilà, donc, les suggestions que je voulais aussi faire. Merci.
Okay, so I'm going to try to recap. He said some really, really good things in his message. First, he congratulated this initiative. Also, I'll just say the comrade, he's based in Ouagadougou. He's based in Burkina Faso. He is a part of the All African People's Revolutionary Party and the center, the Thomas Sankara Center. So nice to hear from you, Kus. So first, he thanked this initiative that was obviously planned so quickly. In regards to what's happening in the Sahel. And then he just made a couple of proposition and just kind of like reacted to some of the things that were said here. He first made a comment in regards to the proposition that was made by Fabrice in regards to the need for us to have like an international campaign to actually raise funds for the masses in Niger. He said, like, of course, that's great, but, you know, are we going to be able to have the capacity to raise millions and billions of dollars? Although that's good and we need to raise money for them, I think he also said that we need to raise a campaign against the sanctions in Niger, that we need an international campaign against those sanctions, because he sees that the sanctions are already having devastating effects. If you actually look at the sanctions in Niger, they are quite brutal. You know, they are really meant to starve the people. So he said that that is something that we should think about planning this kind of international campaign. And then he kind of spoke in regards to the fact that we're seeing all these coups d'etat happening in the Sahel, like in that region. And he said, like, you know, we don't do these coups d'etat because like we feel like it's not just for fun, right? Like we have no choice, because right now these coups d'etat are seeming to be like the only way to bring change into Africa. But he recognizes that, you know, there has to be another way to bring change. And he says that can only be done through mass and popular education of the masses to raise the consciousness. And he mentioned what they're doing in Burkina Faso and the fact that they have their reading circles, they have their various programs at the center. And he says there's a need for us to support these kind of mass education programs throughout the Sahel, the need for us to help comrades on the ground to develop these kind of mass popular education kind of circles. We need all these type of little schools throughout the Sahel. So I think that's a really great point in terms of like, if we want to support the Sahel, we need to help them build these people's kind of movement, these people's kind of mass education programs. So I thought that was really, really excellent points. And it gave us here, you know, in this coalition, like some guidance as to what we can work on in the future. So thank you very much for your comments, Kus.
Solid one, solid one. And thank you all for that. Thank you all for those contributions and concurrence. So thank you for the translation. One more person's hand has been up for a little while. I've just gotten around to looking at it. So I will call on Temitope Maberu Fagunwa to unmute and make their comments before we round out. Thank you. Okay. Temitope has dropped out, so that's that. At this point now, I just want to acknowledge that we've run out of time, and again, very much gratitude for everybody that has, made out time and effort to, participate in this press conference. Again, the comrade that has been translating, Comrade Prudence, much gratitude to you. Thank you for all the work. The panelists that contributed, Comrade Inem, Comrade Obioma, Comrade Shongo, I'm grateful to all of you.
Hello,
now,
Comrade, can I be at?
Wow.
Hello.
Comrade Temitope.
Yes, comrades. Can I be at?
You're clear, but just take note that we are short on time and we're rounding out. So if you can just keep your contribution very short, that would be great.
Yes, it's going to be. Revolutionary greetings, comrades. My name is Temitope Fagua from the Pan-African Consciousness Renaissance. I bring you solidarity greetings. I bring everyone, massive solidarity greetings, comrades. And it is to say that, for me, this gathering is extremely important. And that is why we must insist on gatherings of this nature, particularly at this particular point in time where you have, neo-colonial forces, fighting their lives fight across the African continent. So I think we must congratulate the organizers of this particular meeting. Comrades, what I want to stress, and I think most of our comrades before now have made these points, but let me just re-emphasize that what is happening across, the West African region, or the, so-called Francophone West African countries, is just a mirror to the mass anger, that is going on across the African continent. As comrades know, the entirety of the African continent today, has been engulfed by new colonial imperialist, forces, including their, agents from the international finance capital, who indeed, the IMF World Bank, these are organizations who are indeed in charge of the economies of the African continent with all of these puppet leaders that we have on board. And that is why what's happening in West Africa, the uprisings, is not really strange. But what I want to say, comrades, is that, again, we must understand that there is a next angle to the struggle. And the next angle to the struggle is that we must insist that these regimes that have come on board, have got to take the struggle to the next level. And taking to the struggle to the next level is by providing the necessary alternative, the political and socio-cultural, alternatives that would bring about, a better living condition for the mass of our people, be it in Burkina Faso, be it in Mali, be it in Niger. While we are saying no to any imperialist invasion of Niger, we are also saying that the leaders must hold on, to that particular alternative that many of us believe, will be able to project not just, the Nigerian people, towards a better path, but also the mass of African people. What we are saying, in other words, is that there must be there must be a decolonization of not just the economy again now, but also the military institution to reduce any of our. We think that ultimately having a decolonized African continent is perhaps, the last liberation path that we think, we think that we'll be able to, resolve the whole crisis that we have today on the African continent. Let us work with the revolutionary organizations in all of these places, like our brother from Burkina Faso. Let us see how we can build, that continuous relationship so that the leadership, those in power right now in these places will be able to have these revolutionary organizations, to put them at the right path whenever they are going astray. Let us see how we can build this partnership beyond, online. Let us look at how we can, consistently collaborate physically with all our borders, because for some of us, this is a good opportunity. This is an opportunity that we cannot allow it to slide, because again, you have all of these leaders sharing rich rhetorics, but beyond the rhetorics, we must use them to practically see how the economy of these countries can be under the waves and crises of the people, how the minerals, how the resources, how the Comrade,
please
you know,
round up.
and all of these
Sorry.
countries, you know, can be used to better the living conditions of the people. Solidarity, comrades. Thanks for the opportunity.
Solidarity to you, Comrade Temitope. Thank you for that contribution and reminding us, because this is the whole point of such a coalition. And again, I am grateful for all the contributions that have been made so far. There's okay.
I should translate what he just said. Ok, so ça c'était le camarade Temitope. Je me rappelle pas trop de l'organisation il a nommé, mais quelque chose qui a à voir avec la conscience panafricaine, et je crois qu'elle est basée aussi au Nigeria. Et bon, en fait, je vais juste... il a en fait dit que ce qui se passe au Sahel, c'est en fait un reflet de ce qui se passe dans l'ensemble du continent, n'est-ce pas? Nous savons que l'Afrique est actuellement sous un contrôle néocolonial, et en fait, il nous encourage de mener la lutte à son prochain niveau et d'exiger de ces nouveaux dirigeants qui ont déraciné ces vassals néocoloniales d'avancer la lutte à l'étape suivante, ce qui est alors pour lui la décolonisation totale du continent. Et il a surtout dit la nécessité pour nous de travailler, les organisations révolutionnaires, de travailler vraiment, de dépasser les connexions virtuelles pour que ça soit des connexions en personne. N'est-ce pas? Que nous devons vraiment faire l'effort d'être assis côte à côte, de voyager, se rencontrer pour vraiment planifier un avenir meilleur pour notre continent. Il trouve que la situation maintenant est très critique. C'est une situation que là, les organisations, les panafricanistes, c'est le moment d'agir. Donc, nous devons vraiment tout faire pour se mettre à l'action immédiate. Donc, c'est ça que j'ai eu en fait de son commentaire.
All right. I'm grateful to everybody once again. I would like to say I just learned something now, as you say in Ouagadougou. Second reading, never said that shared this greeting. Baraka Wusko Abi. That translates to thank you very much. Thank you very much. So as it is right now, you know, let's just bear in mind that this press conference, you know, the outcome, it doesn't end here. We should also take this as, you know, a call for actions, you know, keep on our minds that we should coordinate and at least plan and strategize, you know, how we would raise awareness and struggle against the sanctions, you know, that imperialists are placing against Niger. But also look at how to work towards more collaboration between our powerful organizations that are represented here, and even those that aren't, you know, those of us that might not be involved with any organizations. It is very important that you join one that's struggling for the liberation of, you know, Africans everywhere. And also, let's also remember the importance of political education. You know, these things are critical to what we're trying to achieve here. And with the developments in the Sahel, you can see that activities like this are just a part of what we're supposed to be doing. So now in the chat, I shared this coalition's email. It's abbasimperialism@gmail.com. You know, you reach out to us there for extra information, you know, on how to please contribute to this, you know, struggling whichever way we can. So with that, I will be drawing this press conference to an end. Yes, and I believe Comrade Prudence.
Yes, je vais juste translate the close-out message. OK, donc nous aimerons remercier tout le monde qui est venu aujourd'hui pour cette rencontre. Il a évoqué vraiment la nécessité pour nous de continuer à avoir ce genre de rencontres, mais comme le camarade avant l'a dit, de vraiment pousser pour que ces rencontres soient même en personne, que nous devons vraiment faire l'effort de continuer à bâtir ces relations entre nous. Il a aussi évoqué l'importance vraiment, surtout à l'heure où nous sommes, la nécessité de joindre des organisations panafricanistes révolutionnaires, de faire partie d'une collective qui gère, qui participe au combat pour la libération de l'Afrique. Il a ainsi mis dans le chat un email pour la coalition s'il y a des gens qui aimeraient nous contacter pour n'importe ce qu'ils ont besoin de nous dire. Et aussi, bien sûr, comme nous l'avons dit dans la conférence, Ça, c'est une coalition qui a été quand même créée assez rapidement parce que c'était une réponse vis à l'attaque qui a été comme préparée contre le Niger. Donc, cette coalition est nouvelle, mais il y a beaucoup de travail que nous sommes prêts à faire et nous savons que nous pouvons que bien faire ce travail. Si nous avons d'autres membres, d'autres Africains, d'autres panafricanistes qui veulent s'ajouter à nous et qui veulent contribuer et qui veulent aider à nous guider, donc nous encourageons vraiment les gens qui sont ici de contribuer, d'essayer de nous joindre de la façon qu'ils peuvent. Et bon, oui, on remercie tout le monde qui est venu aujourd'hui et on espère que vous resterez en contact avec nous parce qu'il y aura bien sûr d'autres choses à venir de cette coalition.
Yes, yes, yes. Finally, I'll be saying, down with imperialism, down with neocolonialism, forward ever, forward ever. Thank you all.
La patrie ou la mort?
Nous vaincrons.
La patrie ou la mort.